Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to your Friday live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton and my esteemed colleague and good friend and newest member of the On Texas family, my friend Jeff Howe, joining us as well. It is a Friday. I like to call it a freak flag feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair Woo! Football Friday edition of the Friday live stream here on Texas Football. Thank you guys for joining us no matter where you're joining us from. I really appreciate you guys. Remember, it's a little bit of a shorter show, truncated edition of the live stream. So throw out your questions, as many of them as you can. We'll try to address as many questions and comments as we can throughout the show. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. We'll dive into Texas football. You guys want to talk about some Texas baseball? We can do that as well because Longhorns coming off that loss to Tennessee. Now a lot of Longhorn fans have their mind set on the, or at least mind focused on the tournament. So we'll talk about that a little bit coming up on the show. But first and foremost, 99 days, gentlemen, from kickoff. I love that we can get now
almost 100. It was almost 100 still, you know.
Yeah, I'm saying. I like that though. I like that. It's easier to wrap my mind around 99. Yeah. Shout out to my man CB because he does this each and every year. Give the man a lot of credit because he does the countdown based on.
He's in the chat. He's the best Texas fan on Twitter, Rod. Right? I mean,
you know what? He's definitely he's in that conversation. Ain't no doubt. I've been down with CB for probably 15, 16 years now.
Long time,
man. So CB ain't no doubt his family. He does a great job of putting these little montages together, little collages, I should say, together here of some of the great players who wore the numbers that he's counting down to kickoff. So shout out to my man CB because Steve Bam McMichael definitely got to be the greatest to ever wear the 99 at Texas. That's for sure.
Yeah. But that said, Stephen Michael is the best for power ranking the 99s. Shout out to Roy Miller. I was actually at Roy Miller's signing day ceremony when he was in high school. Nice. He signed Texas out of Khalil Shoemaker. And shout out to another 99, my guy Tank Jackson, who just accepted the D-line coaching job up at Roy City. So he and Peter Jenkins are both on that coaching staff now.
And another 99 that may have had the best nickname at Texas ever, and that's obviously Keandre Snacks Coburn. But I said this morning, Coffee on Football, Roy Miller is he's one of the more underrated Mac Brown players for me. And here's why. Yes, he went on to have a great NFL career. But that flip from Oklahoma, Jeff, back then when Bob Stoops was winning the game every year really pissed off the Oklahoma staff. They're like, we had Tommy Harris. He went top 10 in the draft. How could this guy flip to Texas when we're in that butt every year?
Yeah.
And him and Selvin Young were two big ones that I remember talking to high school staffs, and they're like, Oklahoma's big mad.
That was a big one too, Jerry, because Tommy Harris was Tommy Harris is still, you talk to people in Killeen that have been following high school football there for decades. Tommy Harris is still the gold standard, and Roy really looked up to Tommy. So OU staff felt like they had that in their back pocket. And then Roy, Texas, you can credit Mike Tollison was in on that, credit Mac. They just never gave up. Roy made a visit and just decided Texas was the better fit.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great story, man. No, it is cool. So shout out to my man CB. And CB also says happy birthday to Keandre Coburn. Celebrated B-Day today. I saw them.
Oh, wow.
I love my man CB always does a great job keeping up with the B-Days too. So we appreciate that. And who's the latest 99? Is it
Cole Brevard, who has a huge, we talked about this morning. He may not have the most impressive stats on this team this season, but like Jermaine Lole last year, this guy has a huge role in the success of the Texas Longhorns this year because, Rod, he is the number one player over the ball that's going to command a double, that's going to free up your linebackers, that's going to help you have the size and the strength and the experience to play the run, not only in Columbus, which he's done before playing against Ohio State, but in the SEC this year. Cole Brevard is, when we look at the stats at the end of the year, he won't be one of the guys that's high on the leaderboard in tackles, sacks, and TFLs, but it'll be underrated how important he was to this team this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's honestly the case in PK's defense. Those D tackles are critical. in terms of winning the numbers advantage up front and their role to play in stopping the run game. All right, so we'll get into some other Texas football here in a second. I want to ask you guys, Jeff, I ask you really quickly your thoughts. I'm sure some Longhorn fans out there may have been disappointed in the result, but there's a grand plan here for Texas in the postseason. What are your thoughts about Texas lost to Tennessee last night?
I'm a channel Mike Tomlin here. We do not care. It didn't matter. I like the fact that it was a competitive game that Texas jumped out. I mean, Lim Doyle was the SEC pitch of the year. They knocked him out early.
Yeah.
Just Arvidsson really had the breaking ball working. They got to cut down on the strikeout numbers. I'll give props to our colleague CJ Vogel. CJ broke this down. Texas in their last 10 SEC games, they're 3-7, so it's not great. They've had 10 or more strikeouts in 7 of the 10 games. 62 hits, 128 strikeouts. About 46% of their outs in the last 10 games have come via the strikeout.
Wow.
So got to get that turned around before next weekend. But Ethan Walker was great in his first career start. Casey Borba had a nice day at the plate. Kimball Schuessler came through with some timely hits. So the main thing was your two most used arms this year, Ruger Riojas and Luke Harrison. Those guys aren't going to pitch this weekend, so get them some rest. Got a little bit of work for your other guys. So, I mean, they got a decent amount of work. Now they can put their feet up for a few days and get ready for the regional. It's fine. There was nothing they could have done, especially since Schloss came out and said they don't really care about getting the number 1 overall seed. They're locked into a top 8, so there's really nothing left they have to do. That's the fact that they didn't burn through a bunch of arms this weekend. That's probably the best possible outcome.
All right. Good stuff, Jeff. All right. I got some topics I want to get into. There's actually positional rankings right now. Pro Football Focus is doing. I want to talk about. They're talking about running backs right now. So we'll tell you where they have the Longhorns listed there and their running back position rankings. But let's get some questions here. And this is a good one from Steven. It actually is very relevant. I mean, this is timely because this news just broke. Probably about an hour ago. Stephen Henderson says, what do you guys think about OU cutting athletic department positions with a revenue sharing on the horizon? Thank you, Stephen. We appreciate that.
I've had a chance to read it, Rod and Jeff, but I assume it's going to be for your non-money maker sports.
Yeah.
So that's what I assume it's going to be from. It's obviously not going to be from football or basketball or baseball. It's going to be from – it's not going to be from football. We know that. It's going to be from other sports.
Yeah. Well, and not just that, Jerry. I mean, CDC said this. I don't remember if we said it at the town hall or somewhere else this spring. But basically, I think all schools are going to have to go through some form of this where you go through your athletic department and there are some redundant roles that, might get consolidated where somebody gets pushed out. I think people that are probably close to retirement, maybe they take a buyout or something like that. So I think this is some corporations do this all the time. And I think it's fun to make fun of OU. I certainly enjoy doing it when it's warranted. I don't think anybody's going to advertise it like this, but at the end of the day, I think this is something everybody's going to have to do.
All right. Thanks for the question, Stephen. Roger has a question. And actually, I want to talk about this too, because I haven't got a chance to go back and watch it. But I did see a little bit of it. Jerry said Jordan Washington. Roger says, Jerry, Jordan Washington mentioned this team has speed. Is he talking about just offense or both sides of the ball?
He was talking about both sides of the ball because when he brought that up, he was talking about Grayson Littleton being one of the 2 fastest players on the team.
What?
Yeah, because we asked him at the end. My last question for Jordan was, all right. So I framed it like this: last year you made a great catch in the spring game, kind of announced your presence at Texas. I said, now you were hurt this spring, so you had a unique standpoint to watch the young kids at Texas. And I said, who impressed you? And at first he talked about Emory Winston. Then he mentioned Lance Jackson. He mentioned Dalen McCutcheon. Then he mentioned Grayson Littleton on special teams, and he just said how fast he was, and he might be one of the 2 fastest players on the team. I think he followed up by saying, we have a lot of speed. And so I think he was really giving Grayson Littleton a real compliment. But what we did right after that is played his high school huddle. And my point was replaying Grayson Littleton's high school huddle. Florida kids play a lot of games on grass. It's not great grass. It rains 10 minutes a day in some of these places. It's not the best weather. The speed is deceptive in that state, unless you play STA or maybe a Berkeley Prep or IMG. We're on sport turf fields all the time. But and when we rewatched Grayson Littleton, it talked about how explosive he was, initial explosiveness, and how fast those guys look when you first see them. You're like, what? Because you talk about seeing them on special teams, which is, but Texas has a ton of speed. I think Jordan Washington's saying that, hey, he may be one of the 2 fastest guys on the team. Probably Texas fans are probably like, whoa, that's saying something.
It's just crazy to think, because I remember the conversation after Xavier Worthy was drafted, and literally we were talking about, I think overall they may be faster as a team.
100%.
Than leaving. I remember we talked about that realistically. And now you're talking about Matthew Golden and some other really fast guys leaving. Janae Barron ain't slow. He ran a 4.39, right? Got a lot of team speed that ended up leaving overall to the NFL. And yet you have Jordan Washington saying, oh, no, man, we're going to be really fast. I just think it just goes to show you that overall, when you look at the traits that Sark is coveting, period, I mean, speed is that's always going to be a data point. That's always going to be one of the main data points at every position. And I think, I'm going to start asking who the slowest guys on the team are, who are not like linemen, because Sark doesn't really recruit slow guys. Like then sometimes every now and then you would hear somebody being recruited, think, oh no, they don't have track speed, but they got football speed. You don't have to worry about that. It doesn't translate. Sark seems to want the speed to translate and to be quantifiable either way.
Jeff, Rod, I'm going on record right now again. I think Texas is going to be a faster team this year than they were last year. And I thought they'd be faster last year than the year before. And here's the reason I say that. And maybe it's because, I'm really tied in from the recruiting standpoint and I see these guys. But here's the thing. When I say speed, I think most people just think wide receiver, running back, and DB. I'm talking about team speed. Lance Jackson and Justice Terry at 275, 280 can move for their height and weight. Colin Simmons is probably going to run 4.5, 4.48, 4.47 at the NFL Combine in a couple of years. Brad Spence can run. Anthony Hill's a plus athlete. And so if you look at all these guys, their height, weight, speed ratios, I think they're really high in college football. Yeah. And when I say team speed, hell, Arch Manning's height speed ratio is really high. Texas, I think, has more team speed this year than even they did a year ago. And I also think it's player development. Is that the guys that are getting bigger, stronger, faster in a program. And then you bring in a number 1 recruiting class. Have you ever seen a number 1 recruiting class that was slow?
No.
Doesn't
exist.
No. Yeah, you dig deeper, Jerry, and this is why I'm excited about the special teams for this team. Their coverage and return unit should be the best in the country because of your size speed ratios. You start going down the list and you think about Ty Anthony Smith, Bo Barnes, Grayson Littleton, Caleb Chester, Cade Phillips, going to the secondary. I mean, whether it's Phil Sami or getting Derek Williams back. I mean, top to bottom, every position group. Like I said, probably. We're not counting line, offensive line or interior defensive line. Man, you got speed, legit speed at every position. Even, you're gonna, Jordan Washington's gonna get healthy, and you're gonna add Nick Townsend to that tight end group. So tight ends, you'll probably be faster at tight end than you've been in a long time.
That guy runs 4.5 flat at 240.
Yeah. So I mean, it's top to bottom. This should be one of the fastest, if not the fastest team in the country.
Here's the thing, and I want to say this too. Even let's look at receivers real quick, Rod. Does anybody have any doubt that Ryan Wingo will run in the high 4.3s at the NFL Combine in 2 years, or 4.35? Does anybody at this point think about where you thought Matthew Golden was? Does anybody have any doubts that DeAndre Moore is going to crack around at least a 4.4 flat? He got behind a lot of people last year. Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, he only ran 10.8 in high school. But these guys get faster. They learn how to run. Yep. I mean, some of these guys can run 4.45 in high school, Rod. You were probably like this. Did you know how to start in a 40? No, you were just freaking fast.
It's a great point. No, I think there's a lot of examples like that of guys you didn't think would be that fast. Like, Janae Barron is kind of like that to me. I think Torrey Becton deserves a lot of credit. To your point, Jerry, of the speed, height, weight ratios, and if you look at how these guys are stacking on weight and building on armor, but they're keeping the speed. I mean, if not, some of these guys even getting faster, which is crazy. So I would say tight end also is one of those positions where they're just straight up getting faster. With Jordan Washington going to be more athletic. I don't know Jack injuries. I haven't really looked at his speed. He's obviously proven himself on the football field, but with a guy like Nick Townsend coming in, I mean, those are some freakish measurements and measurables that you brought up about him, Jerry. That, I mean, I believe he's the one that you brought up that talked about pound for pound. Athlete. What was that? Nick Townsend that started?
I think pound for pound, the day he shows up, he's a top 5 athlete in the program.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I can only go by what I've seen, and then what I mean. Think back, Rod. Were you on the interview with him that day? Or was just Bobby and I? Maybe it's just been Bobby and I. When he said Nick Townsend was 228 when I was there in February for signing day, even they had a mock sign day, even though he'd signed. And then, like a few weeks later, he ran at the district meet. He ran 21.62 in the 200 meters. And I was like, damn, that's pretty impressive at 228. He came on the show with us. He said, I was actually 240. He said, I gained like 10 or 12 pounds during track season. He said, I don't even know why. And I was like, so how many guys have you ever heard of that gained 10 pounds during track season and dropped their times? So, like, what's he going to do in a college strength and conditioning program? I mean, that dude's going to be running in the high 4.4s at 255 pounds probably.
That's absurd. And that goes to the conversation that I think you brought it up, man, probably when we started talking about the 25 recruiting class, the big athletes. So the speed that we talk about is usually at the skill position, DB and wide receiver. Yes, of course they have that speed. But you're talking about now the speed at some of the other, more.
Great point, Rod. You just brought something I should have mentioned. Michael Terry ran 10.85 as a junior in high school at 215 pounds. He didn't even run track his senior year. He's at Texas. Bo Barnes hit 10.96 in the district meet at 238 pounds. He didn't even run track his senior year. So that's my Texas has. Then again, it's kind of like common sense thing, but who's ever signed the number 1 class in the country and wasn't fast as Nick Saban's classes were fast. Kirby Smart's classes were fast. Ohio State's Urban Meyer's classes were fast. If you sign a number 1 class in the country, one thing is that is a really fast class, height, weight ratio, speed ratio. There's no doubt. It's not possible. It's not.
When you've got a staff that prides itself on player development and now has a track record of player development, Jerry, you and I have talked about this for years. You can see traits on high school kids and figure out, okay, based on, for offensive linemen, based on how broad a guy's shoulders are, how much more weight can his frame handle? Based on a kid's short area quickness, man, I think he could be able to do this by the time he gets to his college strength and conditioning program. So it's not just about identifying good players. It's not just about looking at really good times. It's about studying body types, studying the draft, studying trends, and figuring out which body types, which traits, which characteristics at which positions can we develop so that we get this kid when we get him. And then 3-4 years later, he leaves as an NFL prospect.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's good stuff, guys. All right, let's thank one of our sponsors before we move on. Let's thank our friends over at Vaughn Lane. If you are traveling between the major Texas cities, going to Houston or DFW or coming here to Austin or going to San Antonio, it's a bit of a toss-up, right? Do you decide to deal with the airports and the airport chaos, all right, that you have to deal with, and the potential delays and potential dealing with all of the different complications with an airport, or do you drive, which is also a bit of a hassle? You're driving, you have to deal with traffic and road rage and the hours of lost productivity as well. Well, there's a third option option, and it is the best option, folks. It's better in every way. Von Lane. The Von Lane travels to Austin, to Houston, to DFW, San Antonio. I've taken it several times to Houston to visit family. I've taken it to DFW several times on business. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into a plush leather seat. You have a hot towel, pillow, and blanket at arm's reach. Your attendant offers complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal if necessary, if you want. And if you need to relax and lean back, you can enjoy the ride. If you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. So while you're unplugging or powering through, the Von Lane team they are monitoring traffic in real time using smarter routes and efficient detours to keep your trip smooth and on schedule. And now is the perfect time to plan your fall travel. Booking is open through September. So whether you're headed to a college football game, like a lot of you will be, or a weekend getaway, or a business trip that needs to be done right, Von Lane makes the journey part of the reward. Von Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and in the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis as well. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com and use the code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. That's Von Lane, Elevated Regional Bus Transportation. And thank you very much to Von Lane for sponsoring our Friday live stream. All right, we got some super chats here, and then we'll dive into some other topics. How about this one from Manuel? Manuel, we appreciate it. Manuel says, thanks for everything. I just read that Jamian Winfield has shut down his recruitment. Does Texas keep recruiting him, or do you think it's done?
Texas will keep recruiting him, and that recruitment will go through, I think, through November, up to signing day. Texas will keep recruiting him. They were buying the spring. There's going to be a few. Somebody else brought up, living rent-free, brought up somebody. I think a receiver like Aaron Gregory could go into the fall. There's going to be a few recruitments go into the football season, and Jamian Winfield will be one of those. The only way Texas won't do anything there is if they domino at defensive line coming up in June, July. And then they're like, hey, we got our 4 guys, and we're good here. But what are the odds of that happening? I don't know. But Jamian Winfield's a real talent, and Texas will stay in contact.
All right. Thank you, Manuel, for the super chat. We appreciate that. Also, another super chat from Clark. Clark, thank you for the super chat. Hope you're having a good weekend. Said, wasn't expecting to see Keandre Coburn at the gym in the Woodlands this morning, but gave him the horns up, hook him, and to keep up the great work, guys. Thank you, Clark. Man, that's pretty cool. Keandre Coburn getting a little work in, getting a little off-season work in. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And also the 99. So he gets some shout out there too.
Yeah.
There you go. A little
with the Tennessee Titans now, right? Played a little bit for them last year.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, they got 2 Texas D tackles now with the Titans.
I think. Hold on, I got to follow up with this. He is Planet Fitness. I saw Justice Terry at Planet Fitness. Justice Terry is Planet Fitness.
That'd be a great nickname.
That's his OTF nickname, Planet Fitness.
That's a great nickname for Justice Terry. That is. That's
Planet Fitness. Where's it? There's a picture of him working out recently. Yeah, there's Planet Fitness right there.
Planet Fitness. That's going to be his nickname here on Texas, Planet Fitness. Thank you for that. That's
there's Planet Fitness right there. We need to make an edit.
That is a man not to be trifled with right there, folks.
Oh, man. You telling me this dude, how is he? He's 18? How old is this dude?
The crazy thing about him, he's like 274, 275 right there, too. What's he going to look like at 295, Rod?
Yeah, you don't know what his grown man body going to look like. Like, we don't even know. That's still his teenage. That's his teenage boy body.
Yeah,
that's his teenage boy body. He's about to get a grown man body now.
Hey, Rod, how many DBs could stand on his traps and it not even bother him at all?
Yeah, he can do those pictures like this, where he's holding up to the DBs. No, but this is how, because you ever see, because there are D tackles like this in the modern NFL. Aaron Donald was like this. They're just not, their bodies aren't even shaped like D tackles. Like, they're shaped like Marvel superheroes.
Yeah.
And he's going to be one of them dudes. Like, he's shaped like a Marvel character or something.
Yes. If for whatever reason something crazy happens and he doesn't make it in the NFL, that guy should walk right to Hollywood and go to the action studios.
Yep.
He will have a career.
Yeah, because he can play one of like the monster or whatever it is. Yeah. You know, put some makeup on him and stuff like that. Nobody has body. People don't have bodies built like that. You can make a good living being that dude. All right, thank you very much for that. Just Rick says Justin Terry has nothing on me except lots of muscles at about 140 pounds. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see like how much the body mass index, how much of it is muscle. You know how they still do that kind of thing. I'm sure they got the tank where they do it. I bet that dude's BMI is a little bit ridiculous too.
I said this morning on the show. Could you imagine him walking around at Alabama in like 2010 through 2015 when there were 4 guys that looked like this, 5 guys that looked like this on every defensive line?
That's talk about the get off the bus. They said you let those guys get off the bus first.
So, and they're like, when does the first off the bus stop? Jeez, how many first off the buses can you have, Saban?
Yeah,
it just makes me appreciate my all-time favorite Longhorn, who's not one of the true GOATs, right? Is Casey Hampton. And looking at Justice Terry makes you appreciate Casey, because you look at Casey getting off the bus, you're like, really, this is the dude we're supposed to be scared of? The man. You line up across from him, and it's going to be a long ass day going one-on-one with Casey Hampton. Like Casey Hampton's personal goal when that helmet comes on is to make your life miserable for the next 3 hours. So,
and if Justice Terry's shown some signs of having that mentality. I'm not saying he's going to be that level player. Casey Hampton, there will never be another defensive lineman that has 100 tackles in a season. Interior D lineman. I'm safe to make that prediction, but this guy's showing some of that. Kelvin Banks, some of that maturity and focus right out of the gate when he showed up. I told the story this morning, Rod, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but maybe the most impressive thing I heard about him was he would go before spring ball. He would go to some of the older offensive linemen and talk ball. Like, if I threw this move at you, how would you counter that? And I'm thinking, you know what? Trevor Gooseby, Cole Hudson, those guys probably don't see many freshman D linemen coming in and having that conversation with him. That's a guy that's pretty focused on his craft and what he has to do to be a 3-year player and go make this thing a very wealthy career.
Yep. Anytime I hear those stories from, players, it always it gives me a lot of confidence and the next generation of football players for Texas. I think Jalen Ford told me a story about it. He's like, I used to always go talk to the quarterbacks. I just go sit over there and talk to them after practice. Like, hey, so what about this play, these plays, this play? I was thinking I was right, but I was wrong. We were watching this. You watching this, on that play when we do this, just because those are the students of the game. And after practice, I remember, I sat with Sims many a day and Shanahan and my boy Bo Scaife and just talk ball. Like, I just talk about that play. And remember what they're playing team, man. Remember y'all ran the post route and then the wheel combo. What was that? Did y'all check to that? All that kind of stuff, just talking ball, because that'll give you a lot of insight into how the other side of the ball is thinking, what they were looking at, all those keys. So the fact that he's doing that as a freshman is next level.
I think one thing I'll add on that, Rod, and I've mentioned this a couple times, but I think it's worth repeating. The culture at Texas right now, it's all about football. Like in that lost decade we talk about, everything coming out of Moncrief, a lot of the noise, I'd say 70% of it had nothing to do with actually what was happening on the field. Like, there wasn't a lot of X's and O's being talked. Everybody's talking about, entitlement and all this other stuff. Sark has built a culture that's all about football. It is football from the minute you walk into that facility to the minute you leave. And if you're not all about ball, there's probably not a good place for you at Texas. You might be talented enough to survive, but you're not going to thrive at Texas right now if you're not all about football. And I think that's a team that's hungry to win football games, a team that's hungry to win championships. But that starts from the top down. Like we talked about Sark. Man, Sark doesn't have a lot of hobbies. Like Sark, I've not heard about Sark being a big golfer or, doing pick a hobby.
I don't think he's paddleboarding on the lake. I don't know anything about that.
If he's not in the film room or in his office or in a meeting room, he's probably sleeping. So I think that's a tribute to the culture from the top down, that when you walk into Moncrief, it is all about football.
That's a great point, Jeff, about the hobbies and stuff. You end up hearing about, if a coach is there long enough, you end up hearing like, he likes to, he hangs out here because he likes to go golfing, or he likes to do this, likes to do that. You don't hear that much about what Sark likes to do because he just He likes ball. He likes being about ball. In the off season, when he does get that little time, he goes to visit NFL coaches.
Look, when he retires, he's going to live in Newport Beach, and he'll have plenty of time to play golf, man.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe the spring that Brady graduated high school. Sark was like, well, yeah, I mean, my kids graduating high school. I'm going to go home, but I mean, I'm going to go hang out with the Rams for a few days too while I'm out there. I might as well. You got big life events and you're still figuring out a way to make it about ball. But no, I mean, it's, for so long, that just was not the case at Texas. And, you were hearing about, I'm not saying nefarious activity, but just you'd hear it's like, man, you're the head coach of Texas. Shouldn't you be focused on, actual football stuff, like X's and O's and your team getting better? And, that's why a lot of the guys between, when Mac left and Sark getting hired, that's why those guys didn't last. Because it's been a long time. I'll put it this way. It's been a long time since I've gotten a soundbite from a player where I'm talking about ping pong tables or barbecues or swim parties. It's all about film watching and practice and what you're doing in your spare time to get better as a football player.
Amen to that, brother. Like it. All right, Jerry, before we move on, I know we got some more super chats and questions. Could you tell the folks about our friends over at South Point Dodge?
I can. If you see Rod Babers driving around Austin, he may be in a South Point Dodge. Hey, Texas football fans, score an easy point next season when you get to that point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock, including a great selection of the Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop for it all. So score big today at South Point Dodge. Come see us off I-35 in South Austin or at southpointdodge.com and get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge in Austin is Austin's automotive everything. Right now, shop over 50 Ram 2500s, all marked down with huge savings. South Point Dodge is always stocked with a great selection, probably similar to any lake Bob Shipley fishes at, right? Stocked with great selection.
Love that. Yeah, learn more about Coach Shipley the more I work with him. Just learn that he's a great songwriter too, on top of being a great coach. Not BS that.
I said it earlier. He's got to write a song for the intro for OTF.
We might have to get him to. I'm telling you, the man's got some real talent. It's kind of wild, actually. So in addition to him, having the genetics with the offspring and being a great football coach, turns out Coach has a poet, a soul of a poet as well. All right, let's get to these super chats. Splendid Daddy, formerly Sugar Daddy, says, "Happy Friday, fam." Hey, happy Friday to you too, Splendid Daddy. We appreciate you taking the time to join us, and thank you very much for that super chat as well. All right, get to some more of these questions. Burnt Orange Horn says, "Jerry, more than one high right now?"
Yeah, but I haven't publicized it. I've only put one out there. There's another one out there I know, but I'm still a little gun shy.
All right, there you go. All right, getting back. How about some more for Jerry? Says JW Crunch said, "Jerry, do you know anything about Caleb White at Summer Creek High School?"
I have not seen Caleb White. I'll do some research on him though. I've not seen him in person.
All right. How about this one? How about this one? A17 Mr. Talk Too Much. Any Josiah Sharma news?
Yeah. Actually, yes. One of the things I posted some notes on ontexasfootball.com. I think that was Tuesday on some team stuff. And one of the things I heard last week, you hear a lot of things on the road when you're bumping into people and whatnot, is that Josiah Sharma and Myron Charles, by the way, really impressive in the spring. Josiah Sharma, I think, has a very bright future. I think both those guys do. But that doesn't mean you're going to see a lot of heavy snaps from those guys this year either, because I mean, the reality is they're freshmen on a top 5 ranked team, and you're sitting there and you have Cole Brevard and you have Alex January, who, by the way, I heard had a great spring as well. You have Murad Watson, who's a freshman All-American. You have Travis Shaw. You have Levon Johnson. You have Hero Canoe. So it doesn't mean those guys are going to be high snap players this year, but Texas loves both of those guys. And Josiah Sharma was singled out last week when I was on the road.
All right. Thank you for that question. How about this one? Colin says, who's the fastest out of the freshman receivers?
Lockett.
It's interesting.
Lockett's
Yeah, there's not a 10-5 guy in that group, right? But that doesn't mean they don't have speed. Jeff likes Lockett. Lockett's going to get fast, I think, as he builds his frame out faster, I should say.
He's a long strider, too.
Yeah.
Jerry.
I think Jamie French will probably run faster than people think. And I kind of see that like A.D. Mitchell. Because when A.D. Mitchell came out, people said, oh, he's 6'3", 185, and runs 4.6. I was like, well, if that was 4.6, then then he goes to the combine and runs 4.33. 3 years later. I think Jamie French is very similar to A.D. Mitchell. I think he's going to get pretty fast in college. And I think he's faster than you think because he played on a lot of grass fields.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there, guys.
Pound for pound, it's Michael Terry, though, if he stays at receiver. Pound for pound. I mean, when you're running 10.8.5, Jeff, in high school as a junior, 2.8.15, your height, weight, speed ratio is ridiculous.
There are no slugs in that receiver room, though. I mean, ain't no tortoises. There's all hairs in that receiver room.
Yeah, no, Sark just ain't gonna recruit a slow receiver. It's just not gonna happen, no matter what the other traits are. How about this one? I'm just get Jerry in. How about this? Living rent free in UT says Jerry. Am I hearing that Texas is a dark horse for Florida linebacker Isaiah Williams? They will recruit him hard later in the cycle because he's very impressionable. He already committed to 4 schools.
Yeah, that's one of the guys living rent free. I think the kid's a stud football player. I mean, tremendous. Rod, if you haven't seen his huddle, golly, he is tremendous. Arguably the best linebacker in that class, pure linebacker. And that's saying something. This is a great linebacker class. He's committed to multiple schools. A guy that I think Texas will stay in contact with and see where it goes. But, again, this stuff's dependent on what happens if 3 linebackers raise their hand in June, July. Then you may be done. But this guy's, I think Matthew's bringing up his huddle. This guy's ability to be special. His speed, Rod, at 225 is ridiculous. I mean, it is and I'm not comparing him as a player, but you played with a guy in DJ who had ridiculous closing speed, 200 plus pounds. This kid's, Matt's going to play it when it pops up. This kid can freaking run and close on the football. He is really good.
And how you say 225? They say
he's about 220, 225.
Okay.
But now this dude can, when you start seeing him close sidelines, I mean, this guy's he's a blur. Now they play him all over the place, right? So the unblocked plays are, but the plays where he starts playing out of the middle and starts chasing ball, this guy's really explosive. Super explosive player.
As a missile. Out of the stands too.
I mean, and again, you're talking about a junior in high school. What's he going to look like 3 years in their college program? I mean, like plays like this: boom, run through, close on ball. I mean, run through, close on ball with power and quickness and speed. I mean, this kid's very talented. Very talented.
Yeah, and he has the ability to play on the edge. I mean, that's
David Rawls. Great call, Suntarine Perkins. Great call, David Rawls. I mean, he's a wrecking ball, man. He's really fast.
Yeah, I like that. Looks good. All right. Yeah. No, that's I think linebacker is one of the toughest positions to get a blueprint for on how to recruit. Because I don't know if the prototype, I don't know if there's a prototype right now of linebacker that exists. I just think you're looking for certain traits. At linebacker, and you want that guy to be able to do a lot of things, man. Linebacker won't be able to rush the passer, won't be able to drop back in coverage. I think, man, linebacker. I think it's a really tough position to evaluate.
It is. I agree. Spread ball in high school.
Yep.
They don't take on blocks, play through contact as much as they're going to have to at the college level. It's a tough position.
All right. Thank you, Matthew, for pulling that up. You're a true professional. Marco, this is a good question for Jeff and Jerry. It says, Jerry and Jeff, have you all ever created an all-time high school recruit team from your time working in the industry?
That's a great – Jeff, that may be a video to do, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Jerry's been doing it. Jerry's got a few years on me, but there's a decent chunk of our time that overlaps.
Just do an from the state of Texas one.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just talking about guys in state, I mean, if I'm power ranking my guys, I've always said number one, and probably just because of the initial impression. I mean, Des Bryant's probably still number one for me.
Wow.
He'd probably be on the wide receiver list. That's for sure. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, look, VY, Adrian Peterson's for sure on it. Your second running back, Cedric Benson, was a great player, right? I mean, great player. Des Bryant, I went to Lufkin to see other guys, and I was like, Coach Outlaw, rest in peace. I was like, who is this guy? I was a track practice. I was like, oh my gosh. He was super impressive as a sophomore when I saw him. I've never seen a better defensive lineman in this state than Casey Hampton in high school. Now, I wasn't in the business, but my dad coached in the district. And Casey Hampton, I've still never seen anything like that. David Warren was a total freak coming out of high school. Just it didn't maybe pan out. The crazy thing was you get some of those guys. It's kind of, Von Miller was really good, but he wasn't ranked as highly. So I'm not sure coming out of high school we'd have put him on that list. But great player though.
Yeah.
Miles Garrett's a freak.
Myles Garrett would be up there for me too, no doubt. Maybe the best physique, just physically on the hoof, best I've ever seen. He's up there. I would think, I saw these guys, I didn't play against these guys because these guys were in high school at the same time I was. But for me, I mean, Derek Johnson and Tommy Harris are going to be on any list.
Oh, yeah. Derek, DJ linebacker for sure.
Tommy Harris, I still think is the gold standard for defensive tackles in the state. That'd be a hell of a list. Jerry, I was thinking this because I was thinking about quarterbacks, right? If we're just talking about just guys in Texas, because there was a Peyton Manning factor to Andrew Luck where he made it look so easy it was almost boring watching him in high school, which you really do take for granted. Kyler was just so unique with everything he brought to the table. But I think you watched more of this guy than I did. Was Tyreek Rollison maybe the top of your list of guys that could have made it, should have made it, but didn't?
Tyreek Rollison was ridiculously talented at Sulphur Springs. They won state with him and hadn't won one since, and I don't think they'd won one before. Like, he was uber talented. He wasn't uber dedicated to football. I think he's a coach now. But, Rod, he was ahead of his time. I mean, Vince is still number one for me. Tyreek Rollison was a hell of a player in high school, though. I mean, a hell of a player. And it's Splendid Daddy asked this question. I need to weave into this, Rod. I don't know if you ever see David Rawls said Chip Ambrose. Chip Ambrose was special in high school quarterback at Westbrook, playing against LaPorte and North Shore and all those guys. Who's the fastest recruit y'all have ever seen? So there's different fast. It's track fast or football fast, Rod. I don't know if you ever saw this guy, but I've talked about him on this show. I would say at 6'1", 6'1.5", 200, 205 pounds, Derek Foster at Lamarck is still the fastest guy I've ever seen carry football in high school football.
I remember him.
I've never seen a guy faster than that was 200 pounds carry a football. And they ran the sprint drive. We were a net roll like Derek Johnson and those guys did. It looked funny. He wore those big pads too. He didn't look. And there's a YouTube. Y'all can look up Lamarck versus Corpus Christi Cal Allen. I think he had 398 yards in a state semi game. And to this day, and they ran a sprint draw, so it made it look like he was shot out of a cannon. But he ran 4.29 at U of H camp back in the day at 200, 205 pounds before kids knew how to run and really train. He was a total freak. Why? Kyler Murray. Chris Bennett, thank you. Kyler Murray's tough to beat as a high school quarterback.
Yeah.
VY was special, but Kyler Murray, man, that dude never lost a game in high school as a starting quarterback in 5A football.
Two guys I saw that were different kinds of fast. The only time I saw Adrian Peterson in person in high school was running track. And you're watching him at 6'3", 220 at the Texas Relays with just towering over kids. I'm like, this looks like Debo running against like the middle school squad. Like he's still beating everybody. So he was just a freak. And Robert Griffin, RG3 was a different kind of fast because he was when he was coming up in Copper's Cove, people thought he was going to be either a world-class hurdler or like an NBA caliber basketball player. Those were his two sports. He didn't take the football until later. So yeah, our RG3 was fast as a different kind of fast, like I said, because he was a 300-meter hurdler.
By the way, Rod, Chris Bennett, I mean, look, and people hate it in the chat, but has there been a better high school football player in this state than Kyler Murray in reality? I mean,
no.
I mean, the guy he's still the only player ever drafted in the top 10 in two sports, right?
Oh, sports, yep. And what is it? About his shortest starting quarterback in NFL history, but then he's definitely in the conversation.
The guy roll out. He was like you, Roddy, to roll out of bed and run 4.39 without stretching. I mean, it's like, he was a total freak. Total freak.
Hey, Jerry, I know you gotta go, brother. So we appreciate you taking the time. Have a good weekend too, brother. And thank you.
See you, Jerry.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I would put that's an interesting topic because if we're talking about just players, I mean, Jonathan Gray is going to be up there for me too.
He was a workhorse in high school. You can argue they probably ran the wheels off of him in high school.
Yeah. But I mean, I watched the state championship game his sophomore year. They were playing Brenham at DKR when Malcolm Brown and Tim Cole were sophomores. And it was no question, I mean, who the two best players on the field were. It was Malcolm Brown at defensive tackle and Jonathan Gray at running back. At Jay Gray, the injuries just added up. And it's man, I'll give you one too. And it pains me because I think he wanted to go to Texas, but his dad didn't approve of the O-line coach at the time. Man, when I watched Jake Matthews at Fort Bend Elkins, like you could tell, like son of one of the greatest offensive linemen that ever lived. I was like, he gets it. And with the physical tools, I'm like, this kid's going to play in the NFL for 10 years. Yeah. I'm watching a 10-year pro. And shoot, Rod, I don't think he's at 10 yet, but he's on his way there if he's not there already.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I'm glad. So you look at line play. A lot of people, I think it's the first lineman we mentioned in this entire conversation. But that's a good point. But you know what, though? It's probably rare to see that on a high school O-lineman.
Yeah.
More so than any other position. You probably can look at a high school quarterback and go, you know what, man? That kid keeps it up. I've looked at a high school DBs at a couple of camps. Hell, Kate Filsey wanted to be like, oh, yeah, kid, you can play the next level, just so you know. Hope if you keep your mind right and you keep working, you got what it takes. And skill positions. And, maybe even, D line, but O-line is tough to tell that. I tell you what, though, if we spread it out and talk about nationally, the years I've covered the All-American Bowl in San Antonio, been down there for a week and be around the guys, I still have never seen a presence. Tyron Smith at 16 years old. Oh, I can believe that. As big and as dominant as he was. And that you're thinking, like, if this kid's only 16, like, man, if it clicks, he's going to be, he could be an all-pro. And Andre probably on his way to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, and it could. You're exactly right. That's a good. He was so far away from reaching his physical peak. We're like, he's already so damn good. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, those are kind of once in a lifetime because that type of size at that age too. He didn't even need another growth spurt. Probably hit another one, but didn't even need another one. Already had the frame potentially. Yeah, I'll give you a couple Texas guys though. Like Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle, was freaky. Like I wish Jerry was still here because Jerry went down to Brenham. I think it was the first day that they had fall practice, and they ran like a mile, like your conditioning test, right? Yeah. Malcolm Brown like smoked everybody in that program in the mile. Skill guys, everybody smoked everybody in the mile run, and like he was one of those guys that I'm so glad it clicked for him. And, he ended up, I think he ended up in the NFL with the perfect coach for him to get the most out of him. I remember watching a game against Huntsville in Huntsville, and he's kind of, just going through the motions. And his coach, Glenn West, just yells, he goes, Malcolm. And Malcolm just looks at the sideline, just kind of shakes his head. And the next play, he like dog walks the guard back into the quarterback. Like, he gets that motor going every time, man. This kid's going to be special. That was good. He's like, I'm watching you, man, and you out there going through the motions. You're the best damn player on the field, and you ain't making an impact. Come on. Yeah. That's I love that. Good story. All right, let's thank another sponsor before we move on. Answer a few more questions before we close out the live stream. Let's thank our friends over at Advanced Pain Care, and we do have two legendary lifetime Longhorns, Vince Young and Cole McCoy, to give you a message from our friends at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
All right. Thank you very much to our friends over at Advanced Pain Care. All right, Matthew, if you don't mind, could you pull up the Pro Football Focus top 10 running back unit rankings, please? Just really quickly, they have the Longhorns ranked here as the number three, third ranked running back unit in all of college football. What are your thoughts, Jeff? Too high, too low? This is actually, I think a lot of props to Trey Wisner. I think here, I think it's a lot of respect for Trey Wisner and what he accomplished. But what are your thoughts about where the Longhorns are ranked in these running back position rankings?
That's why I'm not going to have a problem with it, because it's respect for Trey Wisner. I think realistically, probably more so in the 5 to 7 range is probably where I put the Texas running back group, just because we don't know when CJ Baxter is going to be back 100%. If we knew had a firm timeline, then yeah, I wouldn't have a problem at all with number 3. But just because of that uncertainty, we don't know. And you're getting Christian Clark back, but again, he's coming off a serious injury, and he'll go through camp and we'll see how he does. But I mean, I think they could be there by the end of the year, Rod. Like I said, I hope Sark's not taking advice from me, but my plan to kind of save CJ Baxter till that last stretch of games, and then kind of unleash a healthy, rested CJ Baxter on the back half of your schedule and into a college football playoff. That would be fun to watch. And I think, man, James Simon, has had such a good spring, and we've heard such good things about him. I just think as a young back, can be a nasty downhill runner. I think Jarrett Gibson is going to be better this year. But I'm just glad Trey Wisner's getting some flowers, man. That makes me feel good, because I don't care if you play 16 games or not, man. A 1,000-yard season is a 1,000-yard season. It's really hard to do. So, especially when you started the year as like the number 3 or 4 tailback. So, props to Trey Wisner.
And he really didn't get going until like the Oklahoma game, maybe. That was kind of the game where he really starts breaking out.
It was really, honestly, Rod, if you look at it, it's kind of the second half. Well, I want to say it was maybe the Mississippi State game where he got going, because remember, that was the game where Jaden Blue had a couple of fumbles.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was. I'll pull it up.
No, you're right.
It was the second half of Mississippi State game when he got going.
But no, you're right. I'm just adding to the point, because I agree with you. I don't think he didn't really do it in a full season of work.
Mm-hmm.
If you really paid attention to it, it was early on. Everybody thought the running back position would look very different, and Jaden Blue would take over. Oh, thank you very much, Matthew. But you can see a lot of the damage that he did was later on. That Oklahoma game, I guess it stands out to me because it was his first. But you're right. That Mississippi State game, he had 88 yards rushing. That Oklahoma game was the first 100-yard performance he had. So right around there, he starts to earn the trust of the coaches. Jaden Blue has to regain the trust of the coaches. Yeah. Jerry Gibson had lost it because as a freshman, he hadn't earned it, I don't think, enough. But people forget Jerry Gibson played in the Michigan game early in the Michigan game. That's how you know they trust you in a big game like that. If you're a freshman and you play early, but I think obviously putting the ball on the ground, that affected his ability to earn the trust of the coaches. And ultimately, Trey Wisner was the guy I think that you trusted the most with the run game. And then I said Jaden Blue ended up adding, I think, being a more of a complementary piece to that run game. There was no doubt it was built around Trey Wisner, his vision, his patience in the run game. That's why he was so good running those outside zone concepts. And I'm with you. I love your idea, man. Just let CJ Baxter get as healthy as possible, if not 100% healthy, and then essentially have him be your closer. Season, and hell, probably to games too. The second half of games, kind of just leaning on teams, and then be able to have that physical interior run game, whether it be an inside zone or whether you're running some more kind of gap and power concepts, that he could be your closer. And that's how Sark, that's how he wants it. Sark wants to open up with the pass. That's his script. He opens up with the pass, and he wants to get a lead with the pass. But traditionally, when you have a Sark game plan, play ideally the way he wants to close with the run. Ideally with duo, and some gap power concepts. That's the purpose of the big humans, guys. The big humans, it ain't just to get off the bus and intimidate there. It's also to close the game when your opponents are most tired, to have those big humans leaning on them. And that's when they really will impose their will, and you'll see them benefit from that advantage of being big humans. That big human advantage, it doesn't, or it's not necessarily supposed to show itself and come and materialize in the first half. It's supposed to be in the second half when you separate.
All of the Texas backs that have gotten drafted at Texas under Sark, they all had that game where you could see where Sark's like, okay, I trust this guy now to run the football. Like, Bijan had it from the start. There's no question about that. But for Bijan, it was kind of that TCU game when he had 35 carries. We're like, all right, Sark is willing to put he knows he can put the offense on Bijan's back and he can handle it. Roshan, it was that K-State game at the end of the year. It's like, my guy's hurt, but he's going to carry it 30 plus times and will us to a win.
Wow. Okay.
Jaden Blue, it was the following year against Tech. I remember against Tech, Jaden Blue had one of those games. Everybody's had one of those games. For Wisner, I think it was that OU game. And what I love about the OU and the A&M game solidified it if there was any doubt at that point. But what I love about Wisner against OU, Rod, was think about that first long run he had late in the first half where he gets the ball popped out, and thank goodness Silas Bolden was right place, right time, and scooped and landed on it for a touchdown. The next one he pops, he's got that ball tight. So it's like, all right, the kid's learning quick to fixing his mistakes on the fly. So I love that about him. But with CJ Baxter, though, to your point about Sark wanting to close out games with the run, go back to pre CJ Baxter. Think about the Alabama game in 23 where they burned the last 7.5, 8 minutes off the clock.
Oh yeah, that's it
on the ball. With Jonathan Brooks, and they just that was Jonathan Brooks' game where Sark's like, all right, Jonathan Brooks can handle being the bell cow for our run game. And then with CJ Baxter, it was Iowa State. Like, go back and watch CJ Baxter in the fourth quarter of that Iowa State game when they got to put it away.
Yeah.
And, you saw him. I say that we saw him kind of grow up on the fly, grow up before our eyes, because by the end of that game, you saw a guy running with confidence, running behind his pads, in between the tackles. So that was kind of CJ Baxter's like come alive moment, if you will, in college football. Was that Iowa State game.
I remember that. He had that was a few like nasty runs. Just kind of showed his vision and his balance too, contact balance. Something Cedric Baxter has is really underrated. Like, he really can bounce off contact really well. All right, good stuff there. All right, we got a couple of super chats and questions. Splendid Daddy says, do we have a beat on any hot running back recruits coming up? I mean, Texas can lay claim to being currently running back you. They can lay claim to that.
KJ Edwards of the in-state guys is a guy that I think staff feels pretty good about right now.
Is it supposed to be a really good crop of in-state running backs this cycle? This cycle is supposed to be a really deep running back class?
Yeah, when you start looking around, you got Javian Osborne, Jonathan Hatton down at Steele, KJ Edwards. Yeah, there's some quality in-state backs. The big thing for me is if they get KJ Edwards in the fold, can they land one of those big out-of-state fish? Can they go get a Derek Cooper or, push for an Amari Latimer or an Xavier Crowell? Can they get one of those big fish to go with whoever their top guy is in state right now? It looks like it's going to be KJ Edwards. Get him in the fold and then take your chances with one of those big guys out of state.
All right. Thank you, Splendid Daddy. We appreciate that one. Nathan says, Rod, can you do a video of your updated DBU rankings, please? Yes, I will do a video on it. This offseason, it'll probably be coming in the next, month or so. I will do a video on it. I'll probably either do it on Sunday School, or maybe we'll do a special video for it outside of Sunday School. And I'll also try to work with, I'll probably end up working with Jeff. I'll try to get it on TexasFootball.com too, so you can have it there, accessible on the website, as well as have a video of me talking about it, giving you my personal explanation and all that kind of stuff for the rankings. I'll do that. I actually had it's a lot. I feel like this. I didn't have to update the ratings for a while. I went like 8 years and really didn't have to do much, updating to the rankings, because you just didn't really have a lot of movement. But now you got a Thorpe Award winner. Andrew McCouby came in, did a good job. I can tell you right now, Michael Taft's gone, boom. I'm already anticipating, for what Michael Taft's going to do to the rankings with his All-American status. And what if my man Malik Muhammad does a great job? So, but that'll be in the future. But I will have the DB rankings coming out this offseason. I promise you. I'm working on them.
I also got a message over at OTF over on the website. Someone is asking me about, they missed kind of when Matt Butler and I on Longhorn Blitz when we talk about bust rates and development rates.
Oh yeah.
And the comment was, I guess that's harder to do in the portal era. And it is because you've almost got to have it like from you could do it from any kind of class you want, but I really did it in kind of the Big 12 era. So 96 to really kind of 2017 is where I think you've got to stop it.
Right before the portal.
2018, because that was the first class where the portal really played a factor.
Agreed.
So I think from 2018 on, you kind of got called the portal era. Because there's got to be a different way, Rod, to quantify like a guy like Keontae Ingram, right?
Yeah.
Well, multiple year starter, big time contributor, made it to the NFL. The only reason he portaled out is because he got recruited over by Bijan.
Yep.
You had one of the maybe the best back in the country come in after you. He got hurt late in that 2020 season and never got his job back.
Yep.
So that wasn't his fault. It's just kind of the way it happened. But
I totally agree with you. And I don't know who's going to do it. We keep talking about it. Hell, we should do it, but it's just so time consuming to do it. Because I'm with you. I would love to, because listen, universities and programs should be keeping up with this. And I'll tell you why. Like Texas should be keeping up with the guys that portal out. And the reason why is because you want to know if your evals are still on or off.
Yeah.
If you get the eval right, is what you want to know in the end. Yeah, the guy transferred out, he got recruited over. Let's say he struggled academically here, or he had issues with the social scene here, or Austin wasn't a good fit, whatever. There are a lot of different reasons why guys, they stray off course a little bit. And that's why the portal is great, because you get a change of scenery, get to start a new fresh coaching staff. Who knows, a new coaching staff, new coach might have come in, and I don't really like that kind of athlete. That's not the guy that I would have recruited, whatever the reason. But a program, if I'm sorry, I still want to know if my eval was on. Did I hit the eval? I said he was going to be a guy that had NFL upside. Did I hit the eval with a guy like Keontae Ingram? Yeah, I did. Now, he ended up transferring. But see, that's what I want to know. So when a guy transfers, if he transfers to a lower level, all right, and ends up not getting any reps, not starting at all. Say he goes to Texas State and can't even see the field. My eval was off. That's bad. All right, I'm gonna get an X for that. That's bad, man. All right, my eval was off. But if that guy transfers to Tennessee, ends up becoming a starter for them, and then ends up getting drafted in the late rounds, my eval still hit.
Yeah.
In the end, that's what I'm looking at. If I am the architect of a program, if I'm Sark or if I'm Brandon Harris, I need to know if my eval was on or off. Because if we're recruiting guys, and this happened in Texas a lot, if you're recruiting guys and then they portal out and they go to a lower level, they're going to Sam Houston State and they can't even see the field, well, we got a problem. We got a serious problem.
Yeah.
Because that means my evaluations are way off, guys. So that's why I always say that, you should keep up with your exes. Don't cyberstalk them. Some of y'all do, but it's okay. You should keep up with your exes. I do want to know how my exes are doing, because I want to know if I have good taste. I thought they had talent. And yes, now I'm glad that she's a CFO in her own company. She's got 2 beautiful kids and she's married. I thought she had that kind of potential. I knew she did. Right. When I hear that one of my exes is not doing well, that end up breaking up with some dude and end up getting into a fight with her ex and went to jail or something, like, okay, you know what, that was a bad eval by Rod B. I don't know why I introduced her to my mama, because she wasn't worth it. That was a stupid move, right? I need to know if my evaluations are on or off, and that's what I think is important to keep up with. So I bet the programs are keeping up with it, but they haven't. There's no public database that does in that way.
You also have to factor in your portal classes too, because I think you should be praised. Like, Tom Herman, that 2018 class, you should get credit for getting a guy like Calvin Anderson, 14 game starter at left tackle, multiple year NFL career. Same thing with Sark and AD Mitchell, right? You should get credit for that. I think you should also get dinged for a Jai Hall or a Jaleel Billingsley, one of those guys that came in and didn't live up to the hype at all. Even if it's for a reason like Isaiah Nair just got injured and we never saw it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I will do it at some point. And plus, it didn't help either that I lost most of that research that I had. Lost the legal pad. I can do it over. It's fine. I mean, I've got it. I've got most of it worked out up here, so I just got to get it on paper.
I know. I hate that. That's why. That's why I don't throw. Yeah, I want to see this.
That's Rod, I gave you crap for so long for being Papers Babers, but I'm going back to I was doing something the other night. As a matter of fact, for the transfer rankings story that I did over at OTF a couple of days ago, I was on the computer and I was putting in a Google Doc. I'm like, you know what? F it. I was like, where's my legal pads? I need a yellow legal pad. Let's just
I'm telling you, man. I need to go through this stuff and try to digitize it, honestly, because you can only keep papers for so long before they just start, falling apart and then tearing on, that kind of stuff. But I'm with you, man. I like to have the notes. The research, I like to have that separate than I do the actual results. I'll keep up with the results and write those down. But the research is important because if I want to do it again and I want to do it on an annual basis, I need the research not just the end result of whatever it is. So I get you, brother. Trust me. I go rabbit holing often. All right. Let's thank our final sponsor of the afternoon before we get done. Our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, folks. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award for their vintage wine. It's Super Texan. I love the Super Texan. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have enjoyed the Super Texan. We had it over the holidays when her mother came in town, and she loves the Super Texan. My mom loved the Super Texan. So it's a family thing at this point. You'll love it as well. But also they have the Rosé, which is really refreshing. The Pinot Grigio, which is really good. Flat Creek just makes some damn good wine. But in addition to making some of the best premium wines on the market, our friends at Flat Creek also have a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. Perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Thank you very much to our friends at Flat Creek Estate Winery. All right, before we get done here, how about this one? CB says, what seed do you think Texas baseball will have in the NCAA tournament, Jeff?
I don't. In terms of the top 8 national seeds, I don't think they'll be lower than 4th.
Okay,
they were lower than the number 4 overall national seed. I do think I haven't kept up with the SEC tournament today. If Arkansas ends up winning the SEC tournament, Arkansas is going to have a legitimate argument to be the number 1 overall seed. But I don't think Texas will be below 4.
All right, thank you for that, Jeff. Also, thank you guys for all the questions and the super chats. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you to Matthew as well behind the scenes. He is the real MVP. Thank you to Jerry, who was joining us earlier and had to get out a little early, so we appreciate Jerry. And thank you guys for joining us on a Friday. You guys want to get the weekend started right, so you could be doing a lot of things on a Friday, but we appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. That's why we think of you guys as family. Also, I want to thank all of our sponsors. Thank Bond Lane, bondlane.com. Use that code OTF25. You'll get $20 off your first ride with Bond Lane. Thank you to Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. Don't forget about that employee incentive pricing, the employee discount you get with our friends, and Advanced Pain Care. Got an Advanced Pain Care right by me, about 10 minutes from me, and I might be actually paying him a visit because Father Time is kicking my butt. All right, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate all of your expertise. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks to Matthew and for Jeff and for Matthew and for Jerry. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Welcome.